Cameras are a wonderful tool to make connections. They enable you to create a visual image of a moment in time, which is a personal moment. It's how you see the world. The snapshot that you take is coming from your eye, it's your viewpoint. And it enables you then to share that viewpoint with others or with yourself at a later time.
I think the way that digital imagery is now part of people's everyday existence, that's the very exciting thing for lecturers. And I'll give you a quick example. Yesterday in the snow, terrible snow, and I wanted to communicate that to a variety of people. So I got my mobile, it's got a little camera on it, I took a picture, and instantly I had a picture of the snow in my garden that I could send to my brother, my 85-year-old mother, who also uses this technology.
Because if you have a picture of something that you did, when you look at that picture again, it brings back everything about that time when you made that picture. It brings back your emotional engagement, what you were feeling, why you placed things in certain places. So you can capture that much more effectively, I think, through a photograph than you could do through writing about it.
And I didn't have to use any words. All I did was to send a message as a text with this picture, and I communicated a tremendous amount of information to them. Didn't have to use words, and they were able to interpret that in their own way.
It's like looking at a picture almost sets a domino effect off in your brain, and it brings in other senses as well. Although you're using a visual look at it, you do begin to realise feelings.
It's amazing how an image can capture in many ways and evoke the actual thinking that was going on at the time. You know, you look at a picture and it reminds you of how you were feeling at the time. It reminds you of where you were. It reminds you of even smells and tastes and all your senses. And I think that's a very, very strong tool for learning.
You know, we try and encourage students, for instance, to add a visual within their CV. They'll make a personal statement, they'll identify their education experience, but the visual as part of that CV is going to be vital, and very often there's digital CVs now.
Because there are some, it's interesting that some have got caps on and some have got headdresses, so shall I write that down? Well, the use of digital cameras is fantastic, it's stimulating and it helps you to generate ideas.
It looks very
And it's a great document. You can document what you've done and you can go back and look at it and you can use it for assessment and just to remind yourself of what has happened at that time.
I don't know what the schooling system is like in Malaysia, whether it's... We certainly can't see anything else, can we? If it is a geography lesson, could we tell the difference? You know, where we are now more resource-based, where we give them resources to go and experiment, and this seems quite an old-fashioned class to me. That's something that I might have.
Before, you'll often see things, or things will occur to you that perhaps didn't occur to you at the time of taking it, and it's a chance, it's a history, it's a record.
I think with instruction and with help and guidance, the wonderful thing about creating and selecting and making an image is that because of digital technology, because of the wonderful high quality cheap cameras that we've got, we can have a quality product.
I think that students find that they want to show who they are, so images is really important for them. And you notice as well from the university point of view, we want to show our students to the outside world. So if you look at the posters, they've all got pictures of students on.
I mean, it's the saying, isn't it? A picture tells, is it 1,000 words or something? And that's just so true.
In fact, I'm asked when I do presentations now, I'm always asked for a photograph. So I think it's just a sign that it's easy to take the photographs and to send them to other people, to send them around the world. And it's a really powerful media that has this very strong effect of people's voice being heard. They're heard in the image.
I think in all of our experience of growing up, we use images to make sense of the world, and before we can write, we draw. And I think the wonderful thing about using images in student learning, in higher education, is that we're drawing on those almost primeval ways of understanding the world, and encouraging people to look at the world afresh, differently, is really what being in higher education is all about.
Developing a student's identity is the main purpose of 3 years of higher education, really. And they come in as sort of unformed beings and go out as people with a coherent identity.
Like with the first presentation we did, we had a group photo on there, didn't we? And it makes you feel part of a group already, something we'd only been in there a couple of weeks, sort of thing.
The way that I've used images is to invite people to bring in photographs of themselves, particularly when they were younger, and to reinterrogate those photographs, to see those photographs from the perspective of a grown-up, of an adult with more world experience under their belt.
Digital cameras enhance learning through being able to document, to record each individual person's learning experience. And I think that's so exciting, because what we're doing is we're giving to the learner a voice, an opportunity to share with other people their perceptions of the world.
When you hear Africa, I don't know if it's just me, you have quite a narrow mind and think, oh, everyone lives in mud huts, everyone's really poor. So when we saw these pictures of this town and all these big buildings, it kind of opened up your mind and like broadened what you already thought.
But also the photographs allow easier collaboration and sharing of ideas between each other, and through that it helps the students gain insights into their own perspectives and their own identities in learning and in research.
There are so many, but I'll just choose a few of the skills that all students should have. And I think the first is the business of selecting, and I've just got a range of images here, postcards readily available. And actually just that process of choosing 2 or 3, and I'll just choose 2 and then 3, and to think about what happens when I juxtapose these images, what happens when I actually think, what are the reasons for me choosing these? Am I drawn to the composition? Am I drawn to the colour? Am I drawn to the meaning? Am I drawn to the language? What's going on? And what happens when I place them differently? So looking at the relationship between images is really important, but also that key skill of deconstructing an image and reading an image. I think that's another crucial area. There are many more.
You can't possibly look at something and make an opinion on it in one go at that particular time. Taking photographs enables you to actually come back away from the situation, away from the lesson, and to actually look at it again in a different perspective. So you actually have a chance to look back at what we're doing and perhaps notice things that you wouldn't have noticed in an instant.
It captures the metaphors that I'm using in my inquiry and allows me to return to that. It also provides research evidence of the themes in my research and the process of my research.
When we were learning how to observe children, there was like a picture, we used a picture of a child that we had to annotate and just say what was in the picture or what we thought. And I think most of us came back with an awful lot of feelings and how we felt about the picture rather than what the picture actually said itself. So it really, having a visual image to kind of reinforce what we were trying to learn or what they were trying to teach us, it was much easier to kind of consolidate the learning.
It means more to you if it's a picture you've taken and you can link it to like a presentation you're doing. And other people will see it and remember it as well, and then it saves you having to explain everything so much because they think, oh yeah, I remember doing that sort of thing.
So for example, working with a group of students and looking at how they make selections, how they justify their selections, is going to make a lecturer see his or her subject differently and to think again.
When we started the course, one of the very first things we were told was to bring our cameras along, and mine religiously now goes into its bag and I can whip it out at any chance that we need to. And I think we've got into the habit again by watching the tutors use them.
I think we should all be working with our students to ensure that they've got a good visual literacy, and I see that as a real entitlement in the way that it's a right for people to understand how to read and write and to communicate orally. It's also a right for people to be able to understand how to use visual literacies.